Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed this clip, but before you do, please hit subscribe. All right, let's kind of move to when obviously you grew up in the business. It was in your blood. We kind of skipped to, we had a couple offices down in the South, and all of a sudden we had a New York office.
Yeah.
But when did the business start becoming this big business that was growing? I mean, most people at that time probably had a shop or two. The note I have here was Zales was the first company to bring jewelry to the masses. When did that really start, that this is something that's going to become a big business?
It started after World War II.
Okay.
And I recall that let's go to 1950-ish.
Okay.
I would say that we had about 20 stores in 1950. And I remember when I went off to college in 1951, there were about 23, 24 stores because I was setting up this profit sharing plan thing. And while I was gone, the company probably added 20 some odd stores. Because Barbara Zale and I got married in 1954, and we had 40 stores. And of course, she took credit for the fact when we had 1,600 that the company had done so well since I married her. By the way, she was a Fort Worth girl. And but I think the real development of a bigger chain started in the early 1950s. And after this profit sharing plan, and the stores were all separately incorporated, and the managers each owned about 20% of their store, that we had a consolidation in the middle 50s. And we reorganized the capital structure, and we gave the store managers stock in a major company, and we merged all of those corporations together. And then in 1957, we had a moral obligation to these managers that when they quit or died or whatever, that we would buy their stock back. And that started to become a major capital call, so to speak. So we determined that the best thing to do was to go public. I say we, I didn't have anything to do with that. I was about 23 years old. So 24. And when I say that they put so much confidence in it, I'll recall this, that when they decided, they being my uncles and my father, that they were going to go public, they finally got an underwriter. They couldn't get one in New York, so they got a local underwriter in Dallas called Epler, Guerin, and Turner. And we had to have an audit, which we had never had an audit by a major accounting firm. And so they turned that over to me. And I'm 24 years old. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I don't mind telling you. But once again, they'd given me this task, and there's no way I was going to say I can't do it or that I can't perform. And so I scooted around and I found out what to do. Talked to a couple of lawyer friends of mine who happened to know something about the securities business. And we hired a public accounting firm, Touche, Niven, Bailey, and Smart. Now, it was Touche Ross. I think it's Touche somebody else now. And we had an audit. And then I remember I had to work with the lawyers to do a prospectus. And I knew absolutely nothing about a prospectus. But we had a great law firm. It's the old Sam Winstead law firm. It's called Winstead and something else now.
Yeah.
It's a big firm. And I'll never forget, they had a securities lawyer there, a guy by the name of Don Fitch. And Don Fitch lost a leg sometime. And our offices were not too far from their offices. And he'd call me about 4:00 in the afternoon, and he'd say, "All right, you need to come over here, and we're going to go through this part of the prospectus and so forth." He says, "And then we'll stay and have a traffic thinner." So I said, "Okay, what's that?" Of course, it meant we were going to go upstairs and have a drink afterwards. Let the 5:00 traffic go down. But I was very, very fortunate in that I was surrounded by people who really cared, and I guess for whatever reason they were a major help to me, and they just were very dedicated to making sure we did it right, and I was very fortunate to be there at that time.
Was there a point in the journey where diamonds started taking the lead as the main product being sold out of Zales? We started with kind of watches and things like that, but the Zales we know today, or that became more prominent, was diamonds. Was there a reason why that shift took place?
Shift was taking place before World War II.
Okay.
And because diamonds are a girl's best friend, and it was a very
and they're forever.
Yeah, diamonds are forever, exactly. And by the way, there's enormous amount of disruption in the diamond industry today. And I've said that, if I was 40 years younger, I'd be back in it in a heartbeat.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. There's got to be so much opportunity in that it's just it's fabulous. And we can talk about that if you want to.
Okay.
But at any rate, a diamond jewelry was always our primary merchandising category. And that was the reason we had that office in New York, was to help us make diamond jewelry and so forth. And that's also when we became vertically integrated. It was the beginning of our vertical integration. And we ultimately, were manufacturers of our own jewelry to a very great extent. And when the company got started, it had to be a very promotional kind of activity to attract customers. And I recall my first job when I graduated college, I'll never forget this. I walked in, I graduated in summer school in 1954. And I'd been working at the office, and I walked in on Monday morning and went to my uncle, who was a guy by the name of Ben Lipshy, who was president of the company, or was going to be president at that time. And I said, "I'm ready to go to work full time." And he said, "Okay." He said, he turns around, pulls out a set of plans for a store, and he says, "We just signed a lease for a store in Tyler, Texas." I remember this, end of August. And he says, "We have to have it open before Thanksgiving. Go build it." Now, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Honest to God, I did not.
This is a theme.
Yeah. There's a major theme throughout this whole thing. And he gave me the plans, and he says, "Go build the store." And I said, "Yes, sir." And I walked out of his office saying, "Now, what do I do next?" But we had a guy in the company who had built stores before, so I went and talked to him, and we figured it out. And I remember when I started to merchandise that store, that we had major categories of dishes and flatware and appliances for the kitchen and so forth, along with the jewelry. Mm. And we would run big ads for these appliances and dishes and so forth. You get 40 sets of dishware, and we throw in a Dormeyer mixer and so forth. So you come in and open an account. And that continued on for a good long while. And I became president in 1971. And I remember one of the best work I always did was when I got out of the office and went to the stores. I was walking down the mall in Salt Lake City, Utah, And I saw our store in a corner location, beautiful store. And the first thing I saw when I got there was a West Bend percolator. And I came back to Dallas and I told the powers that be, I said, we can't do that anymore. We're going to be the diamond store. We're going to be jewelry only. And all of that category of goods was a pretty good size piece of our total revenue, total volume, sales volume. And I got the crew together and I told them that we weren't going to sell that anymore. And I said, we'll adopt a policy. If it has an electrical cord on it, we're not selling it. And we're not selling all this other stuff. And I remember one of our guys said, I was going to be the Citizens Band king of the world. I had a promotion for Citizen Band Radio. I said, you're going to have to be the jewelry king of the world instead. And so we took all that stuff out and began to really concentrate on being only a jewelry company. That was in 1971.
The lesson that I'm hearing, and I think it's a lesson that stands the test of time. What did going all in and focusing on one thing really do for the business?
Well, number one, I think that it gave the customer confidence in the fact that they could buy jewelry from us and knowing that they were going to get a good value. That we were specialists, we were concentrating on that. The other thing that I insisted upon, and this was back in 1971 also, the first day I became president of the company, we had about 300 stores. And I sent out a note to every store, and I said, I want a copy of every unresolved customer complaint when you close the store at night. So if you have a customer complaint that is not resolved, I want it. And I put together 4 or 5 people, and we started getting I remember the first day I got about 40 or 50 customer complaints. And I got people on the telephones, we called the customers, and we said, what can we do to make you happy? You know, we can give you your money back. We can give you a new piece of goods. We can fix what you've got. Whatever it is, we want to do it. And so I set a separate line on their profit and loss statement for resolving customer complaints. And after about 2 months, all the store managers said, well, now, wait a minute. This guy's charging it to us, and he's doing it, and he's getting all the credit for it. We might as well do that ourselves. And after 4 months, we had no customer complaints that were unresolved. And I then instituted a policy of an unconditional money-back guarantee for a Zale product, Zale Diamond product. And if they found a better value any place, we'll give you your money back. And that took the scary part of buying a diamond off the table. And it was a marketing concept that gave the customer confidence that they could buy from us and know they were getting a good value.